Time to turn our attention to Manchester United. There's a big summer rebuild ongoing, despite the fact that just a few months ago Sir Jim Ratcliffe said that there was a risk that the club was going to be cashless by the end of the year. It seems like they're willing to spend big. They've obviously got Matheus Cunha in the door for £62.5 million. They're turning their attention to Bryan Mbeumo, and now talkSPORT understands United have made an inquiry for Frankfurt striker Hugo Ekitique. Frankfurt value Ekitique. Oh gosh, I'm getting mixed up here. Ekitique at €100 million, and he's also admired by Rory's beloved Chelsea. Let's hear more on the French striker. Here's European football expert and Bundesliga commentator Kev Hatchard on what kind of player he is.
Yeah, Ekitique is a really interesting player because he's got the ability to beat people one-on-one. He's got a burst of pace as well. He's somebody that has really exciting skills one-on-one. I think he's not unique, but there aren't many strikers like him. And I think what's actually been really impressive is how he's learned along his career arc so far. So not only is he somebody who scores goals, but he's got a great awareness of what's around him. He can make goals as well. So lots of skill. Fairly quick as well, and I think lots of room to grow as well, but he needs to go somewhere where he's going to start. He needs that rhythm, he needs that run of games.
That was Kev Hatchard talking to the talkSPORT YouTube channel about Hugo Ekitique. I mean, you know a little bit about this guy, Rory. Chelsea are also interested, but focusing on Manchester United, what do you make of their search for a striker? I mean, they're obviously Ruben Amorim wants to be reunited with Victor Gyökeres, but we understand that Arsenal is his sort of preferred choice. Do you think that Ekitique is sort of the right man that United need?
No, not really. I actually don't. It's not that he's not a good player. It's not that there's not huge potential around him. But when you think about what playing for Manchester United means, and then you think about what Manchester United need, I think they just need something totally proven. And Ekitique is young. Like he's so young. Like, you know, when people are talking about him, like they're talking about him like he's a finished article. He's still developing. This isn't a million miles away from the Rasmus Højlund signing. Like, Ekitique is 22 years old. I just don't think that Manchester United need a 22-year-old forward.
But he has got a much better goal-scoring record than Rasmus Højlund did at the time. 22 goals, 48 appearances in the Bundesliga for Frankfurt, who aren't pulling up trees, so that's no mean feat.
No doubt. And it's not really a question mark on Ekitique. I think he's a good player, and I think going to the right club, he will be a great player. I really do. I think he's got a lot of potential. I think that he clearly knows where the back of the net is, and he will go on to have a glittering career, no doubt. He is one of the hottest prospects on Europe. Like, he will be one of the biggest players to move this summer when he goes. I just don't think that Manchester United's the right move for him at all. Manchester United need a statement signing. They need somebody to come in and lead the line and have what it takes to lead the line. A 22-year-old isn't the answer for Manchester United.
Well, what about a 27-year-old Victor Gyökeres who scored 97 goals in his last 102 games?
More
I mean,
so.
What baffles me is it seems to me that there are some United fans out there that look at Gyökeres with a bit of caution because he's played in Portugal. For me, if you score 100 goals in 2 seasons, then you're doing your job. You're putting the ball in the back of the net. And of course, it's not the same as the Premier League. But even if he halves his output and scores 50 goals in 2 seasons for United, that's 25 Premier League or 25 goals in the Premier League for United. They need that. So I don't understand this almost, from some United fans, this reluctance to say, actually, Gyökeres would be a great signing. If you score that many goals, get him in the door.
Yeah, I'm not sure I agree with you, really, Max. I'm not sure I agree.
Is that not enough goals for you?
No, it's certainly enough goals. It's just not in the league where I'd need it to be. What
else do you want him to do? Score 200 in 2 years?
No, maybe score more for Coventry. Maybe do it somewhere. I don't think that you get the move directly to a club of Manchester United's stature from doing it in the Portuguese league. I think he would need to do it somewhere else. I think what Manchester United need now is a Premier League proven player, or as close to being a top proven footballer. I just don't think they can take a punt anymore.
Who is that?
No, this is the difficulty. This is the tricky problem. I'll give you an example, right? Let's use a player that most people deride. Most people do not rate this striker, and ultimately he will be leaving the club that is currently the best club in the country. Darwin Núñez is seen as not being good enough, isn't he? He's generally seen as not being good enough. Darwin Núñez is a better player than Gyökeres. He's a better goal scorer than Gyökeres. And yet, Darwin Núñez is seen as not being good enough. And it's the same with Benjamin Sesko.
But Darwin Núñez might be good enough for Manchester United.
Absolutely.
It's very different at this point in time playing for Manchester United than it is for Liverpool. But I don't think you can turn your nose up at a striker that has done his job amazingly and scored 97 goals in 102 games.
Are you not cautious about the league? Are you not cautious about where he's done it?
Of course, that's important context. But he can't do anything else other than prove himself as a goal scorer. And he's done that. And he's done that with aplomb.
Yeah, he has. But I just
don't sound like a broken record. 97 goals, Rory.
You can't be spending this kind of money. Like, bearing in mind, he has a pre-existing relationship with...
Ekitique is... They want 100 million.
I don't think he's the right signing either for them. I really don't. I mean, it's hard. If you then back me into a corner and go, well, who is the right signing? It's now very difficult because for some reason there is just this almost like dry, barren wasteland that is the wasteland of centre forwards. They don't seem to be about. But the closest thing that I feel like we have to a proven track record is Victor Osimhen. That's what I believe is the closest thing. Like, he scored bundles of goals for Napoli, took them to the league title. And the reason that he fell out, like, it was a weird falling out with Napoli. It wasn't about his performances. He's just going to cost a fortune.
Well, to discuss this, we are delighted to bring in our very own chief football correspondent, Alex Crook. But before we get into the United stuff, I hear you've got some Liverpool news for us, Crookie.
Yes, indeed. Good evening, guys. Liverpool, one of the biggest spenders in this transfer window so far. We know there's a medical booked for Florian Wirtz later this week to complete his British record transfer to Anfield. They've already signed Jeremy Frimpong. They're very much in the market for a new forward player as well. Milos Gyökeres, I think in many people's eyes, the best left-back in the Premier League last season. Maybe Anthony Robinson might have something to say about that. I'm told a deal very close now. Full agreement between Liverpool and Bournemouth is expected to happen in the coming days. £40 million the fee. Milos Gyökeres reuniting with Richard Hughes, former sporting director at Bournemouth, the man who brought Gyökeres to the Premier League at Anfield, and that could well pave the way for the departure of Andy Robertson. We know there's interest in him from Atletico Madrid.
Well, I was just about to say there about Andy Robertson, but do you not think that is there any world in which Andy Robertson is willing to stay at Liverpool, Crookie, despite the fact he might not be first choice when Gyökeres comes through the door, or does he not want to play second fiddle?
I think it's a difficult decision. You know, Robertson has been part of the fabric at Liverpool. They paid £8 million to sign him from Hull City. I remember Liverpool fans turning their nose up at that transaction. He's been an absolute legend for the club. He's won all there is to win. He's obviously at the veteran stage of his career now, so I think he wants to go and play football as the first choice left back. And what a place to do it. Atletico Madrid, third biggest club in Spain. I think we can probably all agree on that. Diego Simeone, I think, is a player who would coax the best out of Andy Robertson. They will want a fee, Liverpool, because they're spending a lot of money. The Fenway Sports Group are going to have to recoup it somewhere down the line. But the impression I get is that Liverpool won't stand in Robertson's way if he expresses a desire to leave. I'm told he does fancy linking up with Simeone and going to play for Atletico.
There you go. Now, away from that news regarding Milos Gyökeres to Liverpool, you might have heard us here, Crookie, talking about Manchester United's search for a striker. Rory doesn't seem to be too confident that either Victor Gyökeres or Hugo Ekitique would be the right person for us. First of all, can you just fill us in on what is the latest regarding Ekitique to Manchester United, or any potential deal there might be?
I think a potential deal is a long way off. Exploratory talks have been held between Manchester United and the Ekitique camp, but we know the fee that Frankfurt are quoting is €100 million. I agree with Rory. I think that's a lot of money for a player who is only proven really in the Bundesliga and hasn't played that many games in that division. Do I see a scenario where United pay €100 million for him? I'm not convinced I do. Gyökeres is an interesting one. There's a lot of games being played when it comes to Victor Gyökeres. There's stories coming out of Portugal every day that give us, in my mind, misinformation. 1 minute he's keen on Manchester United, then he's keen on Arsenal, then he's off to Juventus. Obviously, there's a haggle going on between him and Sporting when it comes to the fee. Is there this gentleman's agreement he can leave for £60 million or not? His preference is to play in the Premier League. I understand he would be open to a move to Manchester United, certainly if the Arsenal interest doesn't come to fruition. So I think Gyökeres is going to become one of those stories that we talk about day in, day out here on talkSPORT. It becomes a saga. But again, I think I'm in Rory's camp. If there's one striker that's going to guarantee you goals, probably is Victor Osimhen. The question you have to ask when it comes to Gyökeres, why did Brighton let him go? Tony Bloom's model and the data-driven approach to signings is pretty much bulletproof. They don't get much wrong. They didn't think he was good enough for the Premier League. Went to Coventry, scored a lot of goals in the Championship, leaves Coventry. How many offers did they get from a Premier League club when he left Coventry City?
Isn't there an argument there that they have got it wrong because he's about to leave Sporting for potentially 60, 70, 80 million quid?
Yeah, I guess when you look at what they sold him for, yes, maybe that is a misstep. But whether he is good enough to go and lead the line at a club like Manchester United, I think is open to interpretation. I'll give you Darwin Núñez as an example, someone who scored lots of goals in Portugal, has come to England, and he's found it difficult to translate that form. Liverpool will sell him. There's no question about that. He's one of the players that FSG see as an opportunity to claw some cash back. That move hasn't worked out at all. I just don't think Gyökeres, for the money that you're talking about, I think Sporting are looking for £80 million now. They want to get Manchester United and Arsenal into a bidding war. I don't think it guarantees you success. Do you know what? All those clubs who are looking for number 9s, they might have already missed the boat. £30 million for Liam Delap, 12 goals in the Premier League last season. You're going to struggle to do better at that kind of figure.
Yeah, well, there seems to be a consensus here in the studio that Victor Osimhen would be the right signing for Manchester United. Crookie, pleasure as always. Thank you so much. Our chief football correspondent, Alex Crook, there, bringing us the news that Liverpool set to bid £40 million for Milos Gyökeres from Bournemouth.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.